What's going on, American truckers? Welcome to Trucking with Old Snapper. I'm your host, Old Snapper. Ignore the play button in the middle of the screen because we're going to do a react here to Freightwaves talking about the proposed speed limiters by the ATA and FMCSA. We're going to see what Freightwaves has to say about it, what they're backing. They have a lot of pull in the industry, so this will be kind of important to see what their stance is on this speed limiter situation. If you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe. We do everything here trucking related. Anyway, let's jump into this and see what she's got to say.
While you guys all look up your Freightwaves conference and make sure you get your tickets, and make sure you get your tickets for November too. That's going to be my really favorite conference. So today we are going to talk about setting speed limits on trucks. I am very passionate about this topic, but I'm also very torn inside, and I think our guests are going to help us work through this discussion, because at first, we've all been run off the road or dealt with a big ass truck going 90 miles an hour, and it's terrifying, and we know that speeding causes accidents from cars and trucks, so it feels like a no-brainer. All right, fine, trucks can't go 90 miles an hour. Like, why should they be going to 90 miles an hour? No-brainer, just do it. But it's more complex. The discussion is way more complex, and not surprisingly, the trucking industry is not a fan of regulation to begin with, so they're not very happy about this situation. But there are many trucking companies that all...
Well, of course we're not happy about this situation. We get regulated every which way. We've been regulated to death. It's crazy how much we're regulated in this industry. Our entire day is from start to finish is regulated. It's nuts. And we're paid by the mile, and we're trying to get miles and trying to do it safely. And sometimes I'm not too sure the regulation makes it safer, but that's just my own opinion.
Already have speed limiters. I mean, look at Schneider. Schneider has had them for years and has worked out fine. But there are many who complain about those big...
Yes, some companies have speed limiters, but it's up to that company, and it's their choice. They're not forced to by the federal government. Being forced to by federal regulation or federal mandates is a little bit different situation. They're doing it by choice. Highways have a speed limit. Why not just enforce the speed limit on the highway? Why put a speed limiter on a truck? Are we going to put speed limiters on cars too? Are we all going to be doing 60 miles an hour the whole country? Are we going back to pre-1980s where it's 55 miles an hour everywhere? I mean, come on now.
Companies with the speed limiters. I think I pulled up a quote. I went through the proposed regulation. Just so you guys know, it's the FMCSA. They first propose a regulation, which they're saying they're going to require speed limiters on trucks. They give us a 30-day comment period from the industry where everybody types out their comments. And I saw one comment that was interesting, and I pulled it up. Maybe the Boiler Room boys can help me find it, but it was a pretty good one. I labeled it FMCSA comment about speed being a hazard. Here it is. So this one's Tyler DeBar. I pulled it right off our public website if you want to go read it. But it says trucking companies and owner-operators should determine how fast they want their trucks to go, not the government. Oh, Jesus, they all say that. If the trucks can only run 60, 65 miles per hour, or to severely limit our abilities to merge with traffic as well as avoid hazards and collisions and other vehicles. So these are a lot of good comments. Some of them are garbage as usual, but they make great points, and it comes from truck drivers who are on the road, those small companies that are going to be impacted by...
One thing I must say, that whenever we're making comments on this stuff, we must be mature about it. We have to be mature about it. Merging into traffic, speed limiters can't... I don't see speed limiters being used there as a means. You're never... A truck is... We can't get up to speed. We can't get up to 60 mile an hour. If you can get up to 60 mile an hour on a ramp, you're empty and you got one heck of a motor. Let me tell you, and you're slamming gears. I've never gotten up to 60 on a ramp. So you're never going to touch a speed limiter anyway. Speed limiter is not going to affect you getting up to coming up an on ramp. As far as avoiding collisions, I don't know where a speed limiter would help you in avoiding collisions. I usually use the slowness of the truck to my advantage because trucks are naturally slow. We pick up speed slowly. And even if a truck is ungoverned, it's not like it's going to jump up and like a car would and, jump up and all of a sudden jump 10 mile an hour in 2 seconds. It's not going to happen. So we got to use things that are legitimate, and that's for certain. One thing that would be legitimate is if they take all the trucks in the United States and put us all at the same speed, we're all in the right-hand lane. Well, you ain't gonna have anybody able to. Good luck getting off the highway. That's all I'm gonna say. Good luck to any car that gets in the middle lanes and wants off the highway, because we will have the right lane completely jammed up. That is legitimate. Stuff like that. It maybe causing bigger pileups because we're all at the same speed, so we're not able to stay away from each other on the road. That could be something that could possibly be used as a legitimate argument. So whenever we argue these things, we have to be mature about it and use legitimate arguments. And if you go and make a comment on this stuff, try to think of how they will argue it, how they'll argue against that, and then make your comment in such a way that it covers the basis of any way they could argue with whatever comment you're going to make. Because that's what they're going to do. They're going to take your comments and then they're going to try to discredit your comment. Just like I just did right there, you see? And they're going to do the same thing. And you got some highly intelligent individuals up there doing it, really good at manipulating. So keep that in mind.
Such a decision. So one more thing before we bring on our guests. And I want to talk about the why now, because that was my first question. Because I've seen the speed limiter regulation pop up with the FMCSA a few times. Never really goes anywhere. So I'm like, why now? Especially with the cost of fuel and the supply chain issues. Is this really a good idea right now? So there's a why now image. And it says, thank you guys are on your game. This is from the FMCSA's website. Why is the FMCSA pursuing this carrier-based rulemaking now? And they talk about the National Roadway Safety Strategy has identified speed as a significant factor in fatal crashes, and speed management as a primary tool to reduce serious injuries and fatalities. The number of CMV crashes in which a speed is listed as a contributing factor is unacceptable. And they want to take this approach using speed limiters to slow down.
Okay, I see what way they're taking it. And yes, speed can be a contributing factor in fatality crashes. But instead of going after speed, why not go after better training or retraining of some of the older drivers that have been around a while? Because complacency is a big issue. And I know I've been in the industry a while. I am one of the motor drivers. But let me explain my point before you get upset. If you go and you research the fatality accidents, big accidents, an overwhelming number of them are experienced drivers, 5 years plus or more. Far more than new drivers. New drivers have a lot of your small accidents, backing in a truck stop, turning accidents, things, slow-moving maneuver accidents. Your accidents where people die overwhelmingly is usually a driver that's been driving more than 5 years. The reason being is complacency. So when you're driving in a city, I can't tell you how many times going through Houston, Dallas, or New Orleans or wherever I'm at, you'll see a driver out there in the second or third lane. He's 20 feet off of the car in front of him, and he's trying to do 70, 75 mile an hour. If that car hits their brakes, he's never going to stop in time. It's not going to happen. A car can stop much faster than a truck. If there's a medical emergency in that car, if the driver has a heart attack, a stroke, or passes out at the wheel, whatever happens, that truck is going to kill whoever's in that car for sure. It's almost a for sure thing. So I think there's a training problem or a retraining problem or an update to training. I don't think it's necessarily a speed problem, and the government coming in and regulating the speed is not going to fix those issues. You're still going to have trucks doing 60 mile an hour, 15 feet off a car in front of them. You see it all day long, every day. I'm sure all of you listening right now has seen that at some point. Try not to be that person, because yes, that's dangerous. If something happens and that car has to get on their brakes, or they panic and get on their brakes, even if they do it for no reason, it doesn't matter. You're probably going to hurt them. You're probably going to kill them. Let's see what else she got to say.
The CMVs within a relatively short period. So let's dive into this, and let's dive into it from experts, not from Cassandra's opinion, who is a former lawyer and has seen every really bad accident under the sun and everything that goes wrong. But let's talk from those who have a broader experience than I do. So we're going to bring on our guest from OIDA, and we're going to bring on our guest from the Institute of Safer Trucking, Henry Adler and Andrew King. I'm excited to have you guys join us, and I hope that I hope the boiler room guys, were they nice to you guys when you showed up, or were they really mean to you, like they're always mean to me?
No, they were nice.
Darn it! I'm always trying to pick on them.
I'm glad they got OIDA on here. It sure seems like Freightwaves is pushing for these speed limiters, which would make sense since they are connected, not directly owned, but connected to U.S. Express, which has speed limiters on their trucks. So let's see what OIDA's got to say in the mix of all this.
They don't give me enough ammunition these days. They've been behaving themselves. All right, so first, Henry Adler, Institute of Safer Trucking. Tell us about Safer Trucking, and tell us what your first thoughts were when you saw this proposed regulation.
So yeah, two things. One, it's just Harry. It's not Henry, but
God damn it!
we're definitely.
Seriously? Sorry, man.
Yeah,
I'm an asshole. Now the boiler room guys are cracking up, and I know it right now. Okay, it's Harry, not Henry. I'm typing this out right now.
Well, we shouldn't have someone who can't pronounce a name telling the government to give us speed limiters. Just jokes. Just jokes. Just jokes.
Yeah, so the Institute for Safer Trucking, it's a nonprofit that I co-founded, back in March of 2020, which I always joke was a hell of a time to start something up. But yeah, our whole goal is to, try and educate the public about ways to make trucking safer. We also try and help, folks who have been in truck crashes, families that lost loved ones, connect with other people who have had a similar experience, become educators on, different solutions that might prevent a crash that, was similar to the one they were in. And, when we heard that the FMCSA was going to, be doing this notice of intent, we're obviously very supportive of it. I mean, we think that.
It sounds like a good organization, but I really believe we need to be more proactive than reactive. They sound like they're a reactive organization, and proactive, in my opinion, is always better than reactive.
That speed is, a contributing factor to, large truck crashes, and it's something that's incredibly preventable, especially when you consider that, most trucks since the late 90s, early 2000s have had speed limiter technology. So, we think this is one of those solutions that's right there in front of us. And, it's a cost-effective one, especially considering you don't have to put the technology in the truck. So, we're supportive of it. We're supportive of the FMCSA's approach to try and get, more data, more information, both from the industry, from safety advocates, because that's what we want. We want folks to be collaborative.
I don't know why these people do not understand that speed limiters are not going to stop fatality crashes. Fatality crashes come from an irresponsible person behind the wheel of a truck most of the time. Not always. It's not always the truck's fault. But when I say that, I say that the trucks that are following too close, guys that are driving down the road with one foot up on the dash, Guys that are driving down the road watching movies on a laptop that's Velcroed down to their dash. Guys driving down the road staring at their phone. That's where most of your fatality crashes come from. Is those irresponsible drivers. And there has to be something done for that. Slowing them down ain't going to do anything. You're still going to have crashes. You're still going to have fatalities because it's not fixing those issues. Now, this is getting kind of long, and I will link this full video down in the description below. OOIDA does speak next, and OOIDA is against speed limiters. OOIDA opposes a mandate for speed limiters, and their reasoning is that they say it will cause more accidents. I think OOIDA is doing studies on that and trying to get that information out there to stop this speed limiter thing. Speed limiters would be a death sentence to many owner-operators out there, and I think they know that. If you're a supporter of OOIDA is fighting for you. They seem to be the only group fighting against the speed limiters. Everybody else, from what I understand and what I've read online, is in support of speed limiters. So let's hope OOIDA can make a big enough impact in D.C. to keep speed limiters out of mandate. But I will link everything discussed down in the description below, as I always do. I hope all of you are staying safe, staying out of trouble, being good to one another. Don't forget to donate to Snapper's Drone Fund. You can donate via Cash App at #old Snapper. Anyway, y'all take care, stay safe, stay out of trouble, be good to one another. Remember, we are all family, even if we are a bit dysfunctional. Old Snapper, I'm out.